I mean, we back at another video. Hey, man, we looking at craziest prison escapes ever. Let's get straight into it as well.
Richard Lee McNair. Richard Lee McNair was a highly intelligent man, but he botched a robbery, killing one man and shooting another 4 times. After his arrest, he made his first escape attempt through a ventilation pipe in 1992, but was recaptured a year later. The escape that would earn him fame, however,
Hey, bro, I feel like if I ever escape, you ain't catching me, bro.
happened on April 5, 2006. McNair's prison job involved repairing torn mailbags, so he devised a plan to hide inside one fitted with a breathing tube, knowing the bags were about to be transported to a nearby warehouse outside the prison. His plan worked, but upon arrival, he had to wait until the staff went to lunch to make his escape. Once the room was silent, he got out of the bag and ran away, though his troubles didn't end there. A police officer stopped him while he was jogging near the railroad tracks. McNair claimed he didn't have any ID on him. The officer, aware of a recent prison escapee, asked his colleagues for details, which matched McNair's description. Despite raising suspicion, McNair managed to convince the officer he wasn't the fugitive by staying calm and showing no anxiety,
That cop got fired, probably.
and he was allowed to go. Yoshi Shiratori. Yoshi Shiratori is renowned in Japanese history for his extraordinary prison escapes, often referred to as the prison break magician. In 1936, while detained at Aomori Prison, Shiratori executed his first escape by picking the cell lock using a metal wire he had secretly obtained. Captured
Bro,
shortly
what?
after, he was then transferred to Akita Prison. There, he escaped a second time by dislocating his shoulders to squeeze through a small food slot in his cell door.
That's not possible. Unless this to do is thrill.
This second escape raised alarms, and authorities transferred him to Abashiri Prison in Hokkaido, a facility known for its intense security and severe winter conditions. At Abashiri, Shiratori devised an escape that took advantage of extreme temperatures. He waited for frigid nights to weaken the metal bars on his window, gradually bending them over
Bro, they cannot stop this nigga. They cannot stop this nigga.
time until he could squeeze out. For his final and most famous escape in 1944, he was sent to Sapporo Prison, where he studied the behavior of guards, noting they didn't handcuff him when he took baths. Taking advantage of the routine, he used a bucket handle to unscrew an escape hatch in the ceiling, finally making his way to freedom. His life story was later immortalized in the
You would think they don't give him no exits after the 4th time.
Japanese novel Hagoku, Prison Break, which further cemented his legacy as Japan's most legendary prison escape artist. Talking to a guy like that would probably be insanely interesting, considering how smart and sly he has to be to pull off those crazy escapes. That's why I tried to recreate him using AI with Polybuzz, which also happens to be, and it's in this kind I use masses are during this video. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Known as one of
El Chapo. El Guapo.
the most infamous drug lords in history, Joaquin Guzman, also known as El Chapo, made headlines with 2 daring escapes from maximum security prisons. Even the guards were scared of him. His first breakout came in 2001 when his men bribed a guard to wheel him out of Mexico's Puente Grande prison, hidden in a laundry cart. Once outside,
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do for that chick. Yes.
he quickly transferred to a car and vanished. However, his most incredible escape took place in 2015 from Altiplano Federal Prison. This time, Guzman's cartel built an entire high-tech tunnel that stretched over 1.5 miles from under his shower cell to a safe house outside the prison. Equipped with electricity, ventilation, and even a rail system to transport him swiftly,
That's crazy.
this tunnel demonstrated the lengths Guzman's cartel would go to ensure his freedom. Surveillance footage captured his last moments in the cell. Pascal Payet. A French criminal with a flair for theatrics, Pascal Payet was serving a 30-year sentence for a violent robbery when he masterminded a cinematic escape. In 2001,
Hey, 30 years too, I'm escaping, bro.
his associates
that.
hijacked a helicopter, landing it on the prison's roof and breaking him out. But Payet
Bro.
wasn't finished.
What type of movie is this? You're not doing this in the US. It's just not happening.
2 years later, he used the same strategy to break out 3 more inmates. Authorities, determined to keep him in custody, began transferring him to different prisons every few months. Yet in 2007, Payet's friends pulled off another helicopter heist. During the Bastille Day celebration, they hijacked a helicopter, stormed the prison rooftop, and freed him in under 5 minutes, after breaking open his cell using the heavy machinery they brought with them. Though Payet was eventually recaptured, he holds the record for the most number of helicopter escapes
How do you break out so easily but get caught so easily? It does not make sense.
in history. Clarence and John Anglin and Frank Morris. Imprisoned in Alcatraz, one of the
I heard
most
of this, I
secure
heard of this.
facilities in the world, Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers achieved what was thought impossible. Their escape plan began in 1962 with months of nightly labor. Using spoons and saw blades, they widened the air vents in their cells and secretly created an inflatable raft from raincoats.
I think that's the most impressive one just because the jail was Alcatraz, and that's a
Buy
hard
more
jail to get out
time,
of.
they crafted lifelike dummy heads out of paper mache, which they placed on their pillows to fool the guards into thinking
Too
they
smart
were
to be in
asleep.
jail.
On June 11th, 1962, the trio slipped out of their cells, climbed through the utility tunnels, and finally reached the island's shore, where they used their makeshift raft to flee. Despite extensive searches, their bodies were never found. Frank Abagnale Jr.
I don't know if they died or what. I'm never doing that just because, like, I'm scared of water. It's over.
In the early 1970s, he was sent to the Federal Detention Center in Atlanta after being caught for his crimes. However, a slip in protocol gave Abagnale an unexpected advantage. The marshal forgot to submit his commitment papers, which led guards to mistake him for a prison inspector. Seizing the opportunity, Abagnale created fake business cards with the
Bro, who are you hiring, fam? Who?
help of a friend, identifying himself as an inspector and an FBI agent. Using these fake credentials, he managed to convince the guards that he needed to meet with an FBI partner outside the prison. They allowed him to leave, and he walked out of the facility undetected, turning his escape into a final act of deception. John Dillinger. The legendary Depression-era gangster John Dillinger was notorious for his multiple prison breaks, with one of the most crazy occurring in 1934. After being captured, Dillinger found himself in a jail that was supposedly inescapable. Undeterred, he crafted a gun out of wood and painted it black, fooling guards into believing it was a real weapon. Armed with his fake gun,
So where's your gun at, guard? Where's your gun at?
he staged a dramatic breakout, taking several guards hostage and seizing a sheriff's car to make
Hostage with no, like, you gotta notice. I feel like he probably hit one of them. Like, how don't you know
his
this?
getaway. Despite his temporary
This cop's
success,
weak.
Dillinger's life on the run ended shortly after, but his wooden gun escape became a classic story. Stalag Luft III, The Great Escape. During World War II, a group of Allied POWs, including British, American, Canadian, Australian, and French airmen, attempted a famous escape from the heavily fortified Nazi prison camp, Stalag Luft III. The camp was located deep
Oh,
in
yeah, I'm
Germany
going to.
and surrounded by security measures, including buried microphones to detect digging and huts built on stilts to expose any underground escape efforts. Despite everything, the prisoners patiently dug 3 tunnels, codenamed Tom, Dick, and Harry, using spoons, metal cutlery, and milk cans.
Tom's dick is hairy.
They dug 30 feet below the surface to avoid detection, meticulously hiding excavated sand in socks to sprinkle discreetly across the yard. On March 24, 1944, 76 men crawled through the tunnels, but guards eventually discovered the plan, capturing all but 3 who made it to freedom. Tragically,
Man.
Hitler ordered 50
Hey, man, I know they sick.
of the captured men executed, violating the Geneva Convention. The Texas 7. In December
It was evil, y'all. Evil.
2000, 7 Texas inmates staged one of the most incredible escapes in U.S. history. Nicknamed
Right,
the
in the
Texas
US.
7, these
In
men
the
managed to
US.
overpower guards and prison workers, locking them in an electrical room. Then, using forged identities and impersonating supervisors, they passed multiple headcounts and gained access to a pickup truck parked near the gate. Once outside, they drove away, sparking a massive multi-state manhunt.
And that's tough. That's in the U.S. too,
Their
y'all.
time on the run ended after a segment on America's Most Wanted, which led to their capture. Despite their attempt to negotiate a
All that
televised
caught?
surrender, they were ultimately apprehended and returned to custody. Papillon. Henri Charrière, known as Papillon, was convicted of murder, a charge he denied, and sent to the brutal French penal colony in
Bro,
French
hold on.
Guiana.
Look at that prison, y'all. Anybody's breaking out of there.
Where he immediately began planning escapes. His first major attempt involved sailing from the colony with a few fellow inmates in a small boat, reaching Trinidad and Curacao, but he was captured in Colombia. Despite
Aw.
repeated punishment, including solitary confinement, Charrière never gave up on escaping. On Devil's Island, he crafted a final plan using ocean currents. He and a friend,
What?
Sylvan, made a raft from coconut sacks and launched off the cliffs, timing their jump with the waves. After reaching the mainland, Charrière continued on his own after Sylvain's tragic death
tripping.
in quicksand. He eventually made it to Venezuela, where he gained citizenship and freedom. His 1969 autobiography, Papillon, was widely celebrated, though some questioned the accuracy of his story.
Hey, no, that's hard. But
Colditz
I
Castle.
fight. Hold on, my bad.
Colditz Castle, located in Germany, was one of the most high-security prisoner of war camps during World War II, reserved for officers deemed particularly dangerous or escape-prone. Known as Oflag IVC, it held Allied soldiers who had repeatedly tried to escape from other camps, making it an unofficial, escape-proof prison. Among his most legendary escapes was the construction of a glider. His plan was to literally fly out of the prison. British officers Bill Goldfinch and Jack Best began building the glider in 1944, using bed slats, stolen electrical wires, and other scraps. They constructed it in the castle's attic, planning to launch it from the roof. Although the war ended before they could attempt the escape, the glider, known as the Colditz Cock, became a symbol of POW ingenuity.